So the Heat won game two. My prediction has been terrible so far, as I thought that Boston was going to win, and I did not think that it was going to go past maybe a game seven blowout. And it looks like this series might be 4 games. Honestly, Miami has not lost at home in the playoffs. They have, I think, the best playoff record, right? Tied with the Lakers and I think maybe Denver, right? So far in the playoffs. But it really looks like Miami just figured out the Celtics. I think this has a lot to do with Joe Mazzulla and the way that he coaches, right? I do not like the way that he coaches. I made a video about that and everything where I explain myself. I think his rotations are bad, and I think that his defensive alignments are bad, right? Like he just has it's like put Al Horford on the big man, right? And it's put Jaylen Brown on the best wing, put Marcus Smart on the best guard. But what I do want to talk about is that yes, we know that they won, but I do want to say that shout out to Jimmy Butler, and he's done it again, and everyone knew that this was what this was going to be about. He is him. Jimmy Butler has truly showed going to another level of superstardom and being a guy which has done something that we've never seen before, which is that they can be so tamed in the regular season but then just become a demon in the playoffs so consistently, right? He finished this game with 27 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. But really what is most showing of this game is that in the fourth quarter, he made like 10 points, right? And most of them were on Grant Williams after he had shit talked Grant Williams to his face, like they were face to face and he was, laying it on him, and he still won the game. I do believe that a telling stat is that the Heat are the only team which has won more than 2 games, right? 2 games or more when trailing coming into the fourth quarter. I believe that's a stat which doesn't get talked about enough, and it shows that if this Heat team actually does end up in the finals, then they could actually just win a series due to the other team getting comfortable coming into fourth quarters. I do want to say that shout out to Bam. I had made a video the other day saying that Bam was disappointing, and he dropped 22 points, 17 rebounds, and 9 assists. And I do believe that if it wasn't for Jimmy's fourth quarter, he would have been named easily the best player on this game, right? I want to say that he was efficient, he was good, he was consistent, and he had just been one of these players which, even though he can't help on one part of the ball, maybe his offense is not flowing, maybe his defense is bad at the moment, right, or that he missed a few coverages, but Bam always finds a way to impact the game, right? This game was mostly through rebounding, as he out-rebounded Robert Williams, and rebounded the entire Boston team, right? Like Boston, no player had even close to 17 rebounds except maybe Jason Tatum, who had 13 of them. And I do want to say that this Heat team played well. They didn't have miraculous performances from everybody, but I do want to give a shout out to 2 guys who played phenomenally. Caleb Martin has been playing out of his mind recently. I think he's been a real propeller as to why we're winning, right? As he's been really stretching the floor well. He's been making effective plays, and he's just been being one of these guys which he doesn't need a lot of minutes to shine. Like he gets 32 minutes, right? Which is a lot, especially for a bench player. But when we don't play him that much, he could still play elite defense. When we do play him a lot, he could actually play offense and be a positive. And I think that, he coming from an underwhelming series in the Knicks series, it's good to see him back again. I want to say that Duncan Robinson was great. He hit very efficiently from the field. He hit 6 for 9 from the 3-point line. He shot about 50% and he dropped 15 points. I do want to say that the biggest thing about this Heat team, it looks like they prepared for the Celtics. It looks like they looked really bad in that Knicks series. They looked like they were just pulling games because of the Knicks' inexperience. But now it looks more like they were just saving their bodies, their mental health, and themselves for this Boston series, and like they're gonna bring it to Boston every single game as hard as they can. Pause, which actually could cost Boston another season due to them settling. When it comes to Boston, I have three big concerns. First, I think this is the first game in a while where Jaylen Brown has not delivered. I think it was because Caleb Martin played more minutes and they played bigger lineups, right? Like Gabe Vincent is obviously going to be against Marcus Smart. But then apart from that, I think that the Heat had no guy on the floor at any time, which was not Kyle Lowry, which was under 6'6", which Jaylen Brown does get affected by like length. I also want to say that Marcus Smart continues his horrible playoff run. He's been probably the worst player on the best team, right? Like out of these last four teams, most of these teams have figured out a rotation, right, which works, and they know which players they want to play. But Marcus Smart has just been consistently awful, right? Like he was good in the first game for the first half, and then he just choked. Right, he's been averaging 15 points, but the biggest teller of his inefficiencies has been the ability to not make his team win. Right, like Marcus Smart is one of these guys that there's times where he just shoots very inefficiently, but he'll make a play to win. This time it feels like he's just playing efficiently, but he's not leading his team. Not leading, obviously, but like his contributions are not leading to anything. I do want to say that Al Horford played like trash, and I do like to see that Robert Williams is back in the lineup and that he's actually, getting very involved in the offense. That's like the one guy that I want to say that I haven't been mad against at any moment. Robert Williams has been playing phenomenally. He was a +7 while he was on the floor, which was the second most on the Celtics team apart from Malcolm Brogdon. And then apart from that, most of their guys were negatives. And I do want to say that for having so much hype as the best role player in the league, he got an all-defensive selection. Derek White has been extremely disappointing because, yes, he's getting his shots up efficiently and he's doing enough to provide wins, but he's not doing enough to provide a championship for you. And people were saying that he was the best role player, right, that we have in the league. Now, talking about the Heat, I want to say that I like how they bounced back from having bad games. Like Kevin Love was trash this game, right? He only played 15 minutes, and Kyle Lowry was also pretty bad. But they still managed to get the win just off of good minute divisions and being able to use like Cody Zeller as a big rebounder, even though he only played 10 minutes, and being able to get production from guys which they don't normally get that much production from. And yeah, I mean, I believe that this series really defines a concept which I stand by, which is that like it takes clutch players to win a series, and we can see that you need these clutch players to win in the playoffs. Especially in the past few years, we've seen greater examples of that, as in the playoffs right now, apart from the people who we've seen, there's maybe like 5 real clutch players who can hit the shot consistently, come up in big games consistently, and do it like 3 or 4 games in a row. And these are LeBron, obviously, because he's LeBron, and even if even if you want to say anything about him, like he can do it, and we've seen it a million times. Steph Curry, because even though his team was playing like trash, he was still playing well, or at least playing better than expected, right? Then we have Jamal Murray, who I know a lot of people like to underrate, but he is a beast. And by the way, I'm not repeating people on teams, so you see, I'm gonna say Jamal Murray, but Jokic is also there. And then we have like Jimmy Butler, and that's about. I think that's the list. Maybe I'm missing somebody, but I don't think I am. Oh yeah, and Kevin Durant and Devin Booker definitely, but I think more Kevin Durant just because Devin Booker hasn't proved it yet. So it's like that's like a very short list of guys who could do that, and in my opinion, those are guys who need to win the championship, and we're seeing that right now as around four of the guys I just mentioned are still in the playoffs, and I'm interested in what's gonna happen next and how the Heat series is gonna shape out. Yeah, shout out to Jimmy Butler.